Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 2, segment 3 of Hidden Gems. For today's theme, we're going to be talking about product updates, but specifically on Covalent's Premium API product. Joining us today is Harish, who is also part of Covalent's team. Can you introduce yourself and also talk a little bit about what you do at Covalent, Harish, for community members who have just met you?
You bet. Thanks, Jackie. So my name is Harish. I was previously in the developer relations role at Covalent and sort of transitioned a little bit into an API business manager. So the focus for us has been on launching the premium tier service for our users. And it's been a pretty exciting journey to get to this state where we've got hundreds of users now exploring the premium tier. We've also opened up our enterprise offering, and of course, we have and will continue to have a free tier for our users.
All right. Sweet intro. So I guess this topic is awesome in what we'll go over, because I've seen that a lot of community members have questions of it. But we can start off with you telling us a little bit about the Covalent API and what it has to offer for the viewers in our audience who are new to it.
Yeah, so the Covalent API is a unified API that gives developers access to the broadest and the deepest on-chain data. So we've got coverage for across 40 blockchain ecosystems, over 100 chains. And so what we do is we've got a full replica of each chain that we index, so developers can get deep, historical, granular, and decoded data going back to the Genesis block. The API's got endpoints for wallets, for contract balances, transaction history, NFT data, decoded log events for every contract. And now we've even got some DeFi protocol-specific endpoints like position and pool information for Aave, Curve, Compound, Lido, etc. So we've organized the API into 3 classes. You've got your class A, which is applicable across every supported blockchain. So those are sort of the standard bread and butter endpoints like token balances, transactions, log events. Then we've got our class B, and this was our attempt to focus in on DEXs and build out endpoints specifically to clones of Uniswap V2. And then recently we came out with our class C suite of endpoints, and these were focused on DeFi protocols. And what's most exciting is just where the class C endpoints will go, and we'll talk a little bit about that after.
Right. So the most frequently asked question that I've seen asked as well is, how does the Covalent API differ from other blockchain data providers on the market?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we get asked that all the time. So the name unified sort of hints at what makes us a little bit different. And as we build out the API service, we've focused primarily on the developer experience and making it as easy as possible to integrate our API. We want it to be as seamless as possible for developers. And so that's why, for example, our response schema is consistent across all the supported blockchains. So if you're fetching, let's say, the entire transaction history of a wallet or a contract, you can literally just loop through all the chains that you want the data for, and the response schema or the object is exactly the same, which means as a developer, you just need to code it once and you've got it set. That's also why we use the standard REST interface and not JSON RPC or GraphQL, because REST is one of the most widely adopted API styles, and it's very familiar for developers. We're read-only, so we've got a laser focus in providing structured data. We've seen, for example, RPC providers who've expanded beyond their node services to offer things like enhanced APIs, but fundamentally that's not their core business. And so we've also seen other projects offer, Web3 SDKs, toolkits, or some might be, UI only with a dashboarding type of tooling and interface. We don't prescribe how you can use our data. We give you effectively the JSON, and how you implement that is really up to you.
Okay. Would you be able to walk us through the process of using the Covalent API, and also what type of data that users can access and how they can actually customize their data requests?
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive in. I want to share my screen here and just talk through a few of the resources. So when you sign up for our API key, if you go to covalenthq.com/platform, you'll sign up for the API key. And from here, you get access to a few different resources. And I'm just going to touch on a couple of these. So you've got some templates. If you want to build a DEX dashboard, an NFT collection, we've got templates for that. We've got a set of components, or React components. If you're a developer and you're familiar with React and you just want to use some ready to go components, you can take a look, and we'll explore a couple of these shortly. But we're going to start by exploring the API reference. And so this takes us to our docs, where you can actually see the full list of all the endpoints that we currently support, broken out as mentioned, Class A, Class B, Class C. We've also got a pricing endpoint if you want to get historical token prices. And then from here, you can actually try out the endpoints directly from your browser. So we'll give you a sense of what the endpoint looks like. We'll give you the path and query parameters that you can try out, and you can actually run it directly from your browser. I don't have an NFT token address off the top of my head, but if I were to, for example, for token balances, pass in demo.eth, I could run that, and then I can see my response, and I can actually then just drill down, or I can even open this up in a new tab and see the full JSON. So pretty easy to sort of navigate and see what we're able to offer and explore the API for yourself. And then to help developers, we've added some additional documentation, guides, etc. So if we go to the list of supported networks, we've got dedicated pages for every blockchain that we support. So we can take a look, for example, at Ethereum, and we can get things like network stats, how many monthly active wallets or transactions or tokens are on each of these networks, sort of a way for us to demonstrate the depth of data that we've got available. And then we've also got little code samples for things like balances, transaction history, portfolio values, and you can try it out directly from here as well. Under our unified API section, so we've got a quick start guide. This is sort of what I recommend as being, once you've had a chance to look at the API reference, you can go to the docs, the quick start, and you can sort of explore some of the other resources. So we've got things like a Postman collection, where you can actually, if you're familiar with Postman, all our endpoints are set up here, and you can actually go through and make those calls. We've put in example wallet addresses, contract addresses, so it's very easy for you to just hit run and try out the endpoints. We've also got, as mentioned, our Web3 components. So this is an open GitHub repo, and you can go in here and you can try out the various components that we've built around balances, transactions. We're constantly evolving and improving on these as well. And then finally, we've got some onboarding resources. So if you're new to Web3, we want to support developers who are sort of moving from the Web2 space into Web3. And so we've got these code alongs as a way to start building up your knowledge. So we've got things like understanding wallets from a first principles basis and how to create them from scratch. We also talk a little bit about accessing blockchain data using various node providers, and then how to even create a blockchain transaction. And then also putting in parallels for how you can do these things using the Covalent API. So yeah, those are just some of the resources that we have for developers, walking through from signing up on our platform page to the API reference to our doc site.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for being able to show us a live demo. For those who are interested in using the API, we'll provide more details or the link to signing up in the section below. Another question that I've seen pop up quite a bit is about the pricing plans available for the Covalent API. Are you able to talk about a little bit on how the pricing structure works and what are the differences between the basic and premium tiers?
Yeah, so our API has been, and we'll always have a free component. We're a product coming out of a hackathon We know how important it is for developers to have the lowest barrier of entry and the most frictionless experience possible for pulling on-chain data into their prototypes, whether they're doing this as an MVP or building something out at a hackathon. And so our basic or free tier, doesn't require any payment information, and developers can just start building, and they get 100,000 credits that they can consume for free. At the same time, we want to ensure that our service can scale and meet the needs of projects that are in that growth stage or even enterprise customers. And so, as mentioned earlier this year, we launched our premium tier. And so this offers, higher rate limits. It allows the ability to scale beyond the 100,000 credits that you get for the free tier. And it's a pay per use model. And then, going beyond that, we actually also have an enterprise level tier called the Inner Circle. And so this offers effectively a white glove concierge style service meant for projects that need even higher rate limits, maybe some cost certainty. So we can work to come up with some sort of fixed monthly price. And you also get a dedicated account manager. And so, these are the different API tiers, service tiers that we currently offer.
So from some community members, it seems that some people are intimidated to get into these type of things, but what is Covalent doing to ensure that the API is user-friendly and accessible to developers from all different skill levels?
Yeah, that's a constant challenge in the Web3 space, because it is such an emerging technology that's moving so quickly. Lots of innovation. For developers sort of looking outward, inwards, it can seem overwhelming. So I kind of mentioned a few of the key resources that developers can get started with. So from our quick start guide, we've got everything from having some code templates that you can get started with. We've got those React components, and then we've got the code alongs. So the goal for us is to make the developer experience as seamless and simple as possible. And we're always open to feedback. So if there's anything else that we can do to improve our documentation, our API, we'd love to get that feedback.
So nice to have a lot of those educational components and workshops or even hackathons that you run. What kind of businesses or individuals typically use the Covalent API? And would you be able to go over some of the benefits or some examples?
Yeah, for sure. So we're basically a tool for anybody that has, any on-chain data needs. So, typically we've seen, Web3 wallets, we've seen NFT marketplaces and galleries, we've seen, DEX and DAO analytic dashboards as being some of the common use cases. The ones that we've seen sort of a recent uptick with are things like DeFi taxes and taxation tools. And this is actually, building out support for DeFi taxes by, more traditional, Web 2 companies. And so this has been really exciting because it's a way for us to demonstrate value of our tool and the depth of data that we're able to serve up, as well as the breadth through the blockchains that we support to some of the top accounting firms in the world who are doing and building out DeFi taxation tools for their clients. So that's been really exciting. We're seeing an uptick with Web3 analytics. So this is actually combining Web3 on-chain data with let's say social data or other data feeds in the Web2 space. And so this type of join gives everyone from brands to large projects that aren't necessarily in the Web3 space a broader view of their users and their customer profiles. So that requires obviously getting a large amount of data, and some of these projects are also building machine learning models to train on that data and then coming up with recommendations and other insights. And so we've sort of demonstrated that we've got the ability to scale and offer everything from transaction data to log events at scale, which is why these projects have come to us.
Okay. So with Covalent's API, how are you guys ensuring the accuracy and the reliability of its data? And have you put any measures in place to prevent those errors or inaccuracy?
Yeah, this is a great question, and it's an interesting challenge, I would say, because I mean, we've got the full replicas of all the blockchains that we support. So the underlying raw data is there. We sort of have the infrastructure that has this data, and then what we do is we offer an API, kind of like a lens that pulls various forms of this data in a structured format depending on what you're looking for. And so we were we are the first verifiable blockchain data provider. So with every block that we pull data from, there's effectively a proof that's generated and stored on the blockchain. So kind of like a checksum, if you will, if you're familiar with like software development and sort of having this proof. And so that's kind of what we built as sort of the first iteration of having a verifiable data stream. Now, where there's been some challenges is, of course, we're not the ones that operate the blockchains ourselves. We're reliant on third parties. So wherever there might be some changes to the underlying blockchain stack or in the format of that data, or for example, price feeds that we might be getting from a third party, there is a requirement on us to sort of maintain this additional layer of vigilance and testing and QA. And so that's an area that we're constantly evolving and doing a better job. It sometimes is more resource dependent than we'd like, but we've everything from having back-end checks to even postman monitors. We've built a lot of tooling that helps us ensure that the data feeds that we're getting and what we're providing to our users is accurate.
I know you were talking about a few challenges, but are there any other bigger challenges that the Covalent API business is facing on that side? And do you have already a plan in place to address them?
Yeah, another great question. So, I mean, what's interesting about the space that we operate in, with being a data provider, I think the way it's presented is it's not the sexiest thing out there, but everybody needs data. And so given even the market that we're in right now, projects that may not be seeing success in what they were doing during a bull market sort of look at the data infrastructure space and say, oh, maybe there's something that we could offer that overlaps there. And so what that means is there's a lot of players in the space of that we're currently in offering data services. And so from a consumer, it could look quite noisy. You've got a lot of options on the surface that you need to evaluate through, and it's not necessarily clear what those benefits might be right off the bat. And so we have to do a better job of highlighting our value proposition, of highlighting the depth and the breadth of data that we have that we can offer the marketplace. So sort of getting that narrative out and making sure our brand is presented well. That's a challenge not just for us, but for a lot of players in this space. Having more competition means making sure that our tooling, the endpoints that we offer, and what we continue to have on our roadmap and build is meeting users' needs. So we've got to constantly have a pulse on the space and make sure we're not getting complacent with what we've already built, and focus on what the market is asking for and meeting user demands. And then of course there's competition on price, because everybody seems to be offering what, again, on the surface looks like the exact same data set. And, we need to make sure that what we're offering is best in class, but also priced quite competitively so that it becomes an easy option for projects who, understandably in a market like this, find it quite challenging, need to have a solution that meets their budget. So those are all, dimensions of the various challenges that we're currently facing. And, it's a fun challenge, it's stressful, but it's also something that keeps us motivated and continuing to build and ship.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for sharing the challenges with the community and how you plan to tackle those. It sounds very exciting on what things you guys have been working on in the background. But again, wanted to let you all know that if you want to sign up for the API, please check out the link in the details. If you have any questions, just comment below or use the community section on our YouTube channel on the homepage. But if there's any other questions that you have specifically to the API too, that's technical, you can go ahead and reach out to our team on Discord. But yeah, follow us on social media, check out our website. Again, if you have any questions, just shoot us a comment or a message. But thank you so much, Harish, for your time and being put in the hot seat answering all these questions. Yeah, we'll catch you guys next time, and super excited to see what other topics that you'll be able to cover.
Awesome, Jackie. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, everyone.